What if I told you there's a mansion in England that houses more masterpieces than most national museums, was painted by one of history's greatest artists over 20 times, and contains a room so spectacular that visitors literally gasp when they enter? Welcome to Petworth House. Built in 1688, this isn't just another stately home. This is where art history was made. We're talking original Van Dycks hanging casually in hallways, sculptures that belonged to ancient Roman emperors, and an entire room dedicated to works by JMW Turner, who actually lived here. But here's the insane part. Petworth was designed to be a gallery before public museums even existed. The third Earl of Egremont didn't just collect art, he revolutionized how aristocrats thought about it, opening his doors to artists, writers, and even ordinary people decades before the British Museum allowed public access. Kings envied this collection. Napoleon tried to buy pieces from it. Today, I'm taking you inside Petworth House to discover how one eccentric earl turned a country mansion into Britain's first great art gallery. Let's start with the family behind Petworth, because their story reads like a medieval thriller. The Percy family, yes, the same Percys who appear in Shakespeare's plays, owned this land for over 500 years. These weren't just wealthy aristocrats. They were kingmakers who fought in crusades and led rebellions against monarchs. Henry Percy, the ninth Earl of Northumberland, inherited Petworth in the 1600s, but the medieval castle was falling apart. So in 1688, he demolished it completely and commissioned a French architect to build something revolutionary. The new Petworth House was designed in the latest continental style with massive windows, soaring ceilings, and rooms specifically created to display art. This was radical. Most English country houses were still defensive fortresses. Henry Percy said, "No, my house will be a palace of culture." He died before seeing it completed, but he'd set something extraordinary in motion. From the outside, Petworth looks almost understated, a long, elegant facade stretching nearly 600 feet. But step through those doors and you enter another universe. The marble hall greets you with ionic columns and geometric floors. The grand staircase features carved wooden panels and elaborate murals covering every surface. Each room flows into the next, creating impossible sight lines through a dozen doorways. The ceilings are hand-painted, masterpieces featuring mythological scenes, with gods and cherubs. Grinling Gibbons, the era's most famous woodcarver, created decorative elements so intricate they look like lace carved from lime wood, wooden flowers so delicate you'd swear they'd blow away. The white and gold room features gilded walls that shimmer like they're alive. Every architectural decision was made with one purpose: create the perfect setting to display the greatest art collection in private hands. Now meet George O'Brien Wyndham, the third Earl of Egremont, because this man changed everything. Inheriting Petworth in 1763, he became obsessed with transforming it into something unprecedented, a living gallery where art wasn't locked away but celebrated and shared. The third Earl commissioned over 100 sculptures and purchased paintings directly from artists, studios across Europe. He filled Petworth with ancient Roman marbles, Renaissance bronzes, and contemporary British masterpieces. But here's what made him truly revolutionary. He believed art should be accessible. While other aristocrats kept collections private, Egremont opened Petworth to artists, scholars, and even local villagers on specific days. He commissioned living artists, giving them financial freedom to create without compromise. His dinner table hosted painters and poets alongside politicians. At Petworth, talent mattered more than title. This was radical aristocratic behavior. Here's where Petworth's story gets beautifully personal. JMW Turner, arguably Britain's greatest painter, didn't just visit Petworth, he lived here for extended periods between 1827 and 1837. The third Earl gave Turner his own studio in the old library and complete freedom to paint whatever he wanted. No commissions, no restrictions, just pure artistic exploration. Turner responded by creating some of his most experimental, luminous works. He painted the house itself repeatedly, capturing how sunlight moved through these rooms at different times of day. Walking through the sculpture gallery, lounging in the park, Turner documented everything. The freedom Egremont provided allowed Turner to push boundaries, experimenting with techniques that would influence Impressionism decades later. These weren't just paintings of Petworth. They were conversations between artist and patron, between creativity and patronage at its absolute best. Let's talk about what actually hangs on Petworth's walls. Because this collection is absurd. The carved room contains Van Dyck portraits so lifelike you expect them to speak. There are 25 Van Dycks here, more than most museums will ever own. The North Gallery stretches 150 feet, displaying classical sculptures that once belonged to Roman emperors. Reynolds, Gainsborough, Bosch, the names just keep coming. One room contains a Bosch altarpiece that scholars travel internationally to study. There's furniture designed by Thomas Chippendale himself. Ancient Greek pottery sits alongside Renaissance bronzes. The sheer density of masterpieces is overwhelming. Unlike modern museums where art is spaced for contemplation, Petworth displays pieces the way aristocrats actually lived with them, layered, abundant, everywhere you look. It's maximalist cultural immersion that takes your breath away. Step outside Petworth House and you enter one of Capability Brown's greatest achievements. In 1751, Brown transformed 700 acres of parkland into a naturalistic paradise. He dammed a stream to create a serpentine lake that reflects the house like a mirror. He planted thousands of trees in carefully calculated positions to look randomly natural while creating perfect sightlines. Brown's genius was making intensive landscape engineering look effortless. The park appears to be untouched nature, but every tree, every curve of the lake, every rolling hill was deliberately designed. Deer roamed freely across the landscape, adding living movement to the composition. Turner painted this park obsessively, capturing how light played across the water. Today, you can walk the same paths Turner walked, see the same views he immortalized. It's landscape architecture as high art, nature perfected by human vision. Petworth wasn't just a museum. It was a power center, where political futures were decided over dinner and cultural movements were born in conversation. The third Earl's house parties were legendary, lasting weeks and hosting hundreds of guests simultaneously. Politicians negotiated in the sculpture gallery. Artists sketched in the gardens. The dining room could seat 50 people for meals that lasted 4 hours. But here's what made Petworth different: the guest list. While most nobles only entertained their social equals, Egremont mixed everyone together. You might find a duke sitting next to a struggling painter, a member of parliament debating with a landscape architect. Talent and intelligence mattered more than titles. Agricultural reformers met with artists. Scientists conversed with poets. The third Earl understood something crucial. Greatness emerges when brilliant minds from different fields collide. Now here's the miracle. Petworth survived. Through English Civil War, political upheaval, 2 world wars, and massive social change, this house and collection remained intact. During World War II, Petworth was requisitioned by the Canadian military, and soldiers were billeted in rooms surrounded by priceless masterpieces. Incredibly, almost nothing was damaged. In 1947, the family made a crucial decision: transfer Petworth to the National Trust while continuing to live in private apartments. This ensured professional conservation and public access while maintaining the house's lived-in character. Today, over 200,000 people visit annually, walking the same rooms where Turner painted. Recent conservation work has restored original paint colors, repaired Grinling Gibbons carvings, and preserved Turner's experimental works. Petworth proves that historic houses can adapt to modern realities without losing their soul. So what's Petworth's real significance? It's proof that private patronage could create cultural treasures rivaling any institution. The third Earl of Egremont demonstrated that aristocratic wealth could fund genuine artistic innovation. Turner's freedom at Petworth produced works that changed painting forever. But beyond the masterpieces and magnificent rooms, Petworth represents something profound, the belief that beauty and culture matter enough to dedicate entire fortunes to preserving them. When you walk through that Turner room, past Van Dyck's hanging where they were placed 2 centuries ago, across Capability Brown's eternal landscape, you're experiencing authentic connection to artistic vision across time. Petworth didn't just preserve the past, it actively shaped cultural future. Today, Petworth stands as testament to what happens when wealth meets vision. When houses become temples of human creativity, some legacies are worth everything. Thanks for watching.